Hi, lovelies. It's been a minute. It's Little Drop from Jemima. Who is Jemima? Yeah, I just like playing basically. Yeah.
Okay, lovely. Welcome again to another episode of Little Drops from Jemima. My name is Jemima.
Hi, lovelies. Welcome again to another episode of Little Drops from Jemima. My name is Jemima, and I will be your host on this YouTube channel. For okay, so I know that to be disrespectful of me to just dive into the video without giving you all an explanation as to my inconsistency on this channel, right? However, I want you to know that man proposes, but God, only God disposes, right? So at the beginning of this year, I already had plans on content I'm going to put out this year. I literally drafted out for like 3 4 months. Like, this I'm going to record, this I'm going to edit, this I'm going to post. I did a schedule basically, and it just did not go as planned. I think the only video I've posted this year would be in February. Although I've been posting shorts, if you've not seen them, you should see them, right? The only video that I think I posted this year would be in February. That was a video with my guy, a vlog with my guy, like my guy's guy, Tatiana, Tatiana Stores, right? It was her birthday and we vlogged. I enjoyed vlogging, I enjoyed recording, I enjoyed editing, I enjoyed watching. I think I've watched it like 5 times after that because I absolutely love the video. You should also check it out. It's just a video before this video, right? Yes. The link will be in the description anyways. And I think that another thing that probably discouraged me was, I think in January or February, I was hoping that I would hit 500 subscribers. But it did not happen, right? And I had a video, like I already wrote down how I'm going to do for when I hit 500 subscribers. This is what I'm going to put out and blah 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 blah. But we've still not hit it. But we still move on anyways, right? We are just in 480 thereabouts, and I'm very grateful. I am super grateful for every of my subscribers. For each new subscriber I see, I thank God, and I literally pray for my subscribers. So thank you so much, and God bless you. Right? I think that's, am I justified? Might not be justified, but thank you for still staying. Right? Okay, I would also like to mention that I had a plan of redefining Little Drops from Jemima, like redefining LDFG. That's the content on this channel, redefining it, right? I already wrote out the plans and all, but I've been writing out plans, but I've just not been executing. God should have mercy on me. However, if for the next 4 Mondays, 45 Mondays, if I'm consistent for the next 45 Mondays, I'm going to upload redefining Little Drops from Jemima and we'll move from there, go in that night by the grace of the Lord, right? And yes, I'm excited for it, and I just pray that God helps my consistency on this channel. Okay, I think I've talked enough. Let's get into what we have for today. Okay, so today we're talking about discipline, procrastination, consistency. All those three things in one, especially in the place of prayer. No, not especially in the place of prayer. In the place of prayer, we're just talking about the place of prayer, right? You already know that I talk about personal development, and spiritual growth and all those things. However, this is basically spiritual growth, growing in your relationship with God, basically, right? So being consistent, procrastinating, and discipline. It simply means doing the right things and at the right time, regardless of the situation, right? For example, the time that I stipulated for my prayer time or with God is 3 a.m. Say 3 a.m. Let's cite that example. Say 3 a.m. Sometimes my alarm rings like few minutes to 3, and I'm supposed to wake up. The sleep is sweet, right? Sleep can be sweet when it's time to pray. That's when sleep is to be sweet. Okay, so the sleep is usually sweet at that point, and I'm just like, mm. But regardless of how sleepy I feel, I decide that I'm going to get up and do what I have to do. That basically is discipline. However, sometimes the sleep goes so enter body. Sometimes the sleep will be so sweet and you'll be like, let me sleep for like 10 more minutes. let me sleep for like 5 more minutes. That 5 more minutes would translate into like 2 hours. Do you get? Yeah. So sometimes the sleep would carry you away or carry me away. Don't be sad too good for that kind of thing, right? But sometimes we give into how we feel, and we decide to sleep. And the next time you wake up, instead of by 3 a.m., you wake up by 5, right? There's little you can do at that point compared to if you woke up by 3. So, I mean, sometimes it happens that way and it's fine, right? However, if you continue to give in to procrastination, now at the point where you decide that let me sleep for 5 more minutes, let me sleep for 10 more minutes, let me sleep for 30 more minutes, you procrastinated, right? And it's fine. But if you consistently procrastinate, you become indisciplined. You lose your sense of discipline, basically, right? So that is basically what procrastination is. Procrastination is the thief of time. I don't think that can be overemphasized. In my secondary school, we were taught that procrastination is a time consumer. It discourages future advancement. Don't engage yourself in procrastination. It hinders one's progress. It hinders one's achievement and all those things. So we know that discipline is what makes you or what makes me stay consistent in my fellowship with God. As much as I would want to give into the way I feel or what my flesh wants me to do, discipline makes me stay consistent in my fellowship with God. So how can I stay consistent basically in my fellowship and my relationship with God regardless of how I feel? The first thing I would say is be realistic. As to time and duration, be realistic. For example, you know that throughout the day you don't have time, you are always outside, right? Throughout the day. You cannot now say that, oh, it's by 12 p.m. I want to put my prayer time to 12 p.m. or 3 p.m. or 9 a.m. That's not realistic enough. You know that you will definitely not be able to keep up with it. I am an advocate for when you're carrying out your daily activities, you are praying in your spirit and all that, and that is perfectly good. I do that most of the time, right? But taking out time to fellowship with God should not be the time that you're doing other things. I mean, you can be doing little shambhala here and there, but the time, just be realistic as to the time and the duration. So the time you pick, be realistic with it. Be sure that it's a time that you can keep to, right? Don't just pick because you feel like this is the best hour to pray. Or if you're not free at that time, you're just building your house on a not so steady ground, not so steady ground, right? So pick a time that is realistic and that works for you, right? And as to duration, based on your current level in your relationship or fellowship with God, pick a duration. You may not be able to pray for 2 hours, you may not be able to pray for 3 hours or 4 hours, but based on the current stage you are, the current level you are, if you feel like the amount of time you can spend for now is like 30 minutes, based on your relationship with God. I mean, over time you would grow, but if currently you can spend up to 30 minutes without sleeping, start with that. Start with something that is realistic, basically. If it's 30 minutes you can spend 30 minutes. Spend 30 minutes worshiping God and studying your Bible and listening to God, right? Don't just be talking to God and talking to God. Hear from God, even if it's in 30 minutes or an hour. It's fine, right? I believe that growth does not just happen. Trees don't just sprout. A lot of people might have heard me say it before. Trees don't just sprout, right? As time goes on, you move higher, right? So for every stage you're in, embrace the process, enjoy the process. It's a moment of growth, it's a time of growth. In future, you remember those days and be like, I remember when I started, right? You might not be because you see someone that prays for 4 hours, right? You don't feel like that's the standard. There's no particular this is the amount of time, but if you start with 30 minutes, the point is start somewhere. Don't stay where you started. Give into growth, right? Don't start from what you know you cannot do, basically. I think I can't overemphasize that anyway. Second one is pick a stipulated time and grow in it. So pick a stipulated time and grow in it. The first time I already mentioned that you should be realistic as to the time you pick as your, as your quiet time or as the time for your fellowship with God, right? I'm saying that you should stick to it. For example, we already concluded that if you believe that you're not free throughout the day, don't pick a time that you'll be running up and down. Don't pick a time that you'll be busy doing other things. For example, if your day ends by 7 p.m. or 8 p.m. and you decide that, oh, my quiet time should start by 11 p.m., there is nothing wrong with that. Say 11 to 12 or 11 to 12:30, 11 to 1, 11 to 11:30 even, right? Just be consistent with that particular time you have picked. Just know that when that time comes, you're like, this is the time for God. 11 p.m., for example, like I said, is the time for God. 10 p.m. is the time for God. 9 p.m., whatever, however, whichever one works for you. this is the time for God. And like I said, it does not necessarily you don't necessarily have to say 9 p.m. For example, 9 p.m. to 1 p.m., 9 p.m. to 12 p.m. If you can stay 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. and go to bed, there is nothing wrong with it. Over time, you would grow. Sometimes you even get to a point where 9 p.m. to 1 p.m. is like, it's too small, right? But for every stage you're in, enjoy it. Another thing I would like to mention is that you should draw a timetable for your fellowship with God. For example, if you pick 10 p.m. as your time for fellowship with God, you can decide that, okay, from 10 to, if you want to spend an hour, for example, you can decide that from 10 p.m. to 10:30, I'm just going to spend it worshiping God. From 10:30 to 10:45, I'm going to study my Bible. From 10:45 to 44 to 10:55, I'm going to talk to God. From this time to this time, I'm going to hear from God. So basically, draw out a timetable and stick to it. If for the stage you are in, I'm not even talking for people that are very advanced. Congratulations to you, right? For people that are like me, we are growing, right? um Draw a timetable. If you need to set alarm for every time, for example 10 to 10:15, you know that this period you are doing this, and then when it's 10:15, your alarm tells you, okay, it's time to move to the next stage. There is nothing wrong with that. You're just being strategic, in being consistent in your relationship with God. If that is what works for you, for me, I believe it works for me, right? So draw out a timetable as to how this is how I'm going to spend my quiet time with God. If it is 2 hours, what in the first 1 hour, what am I doing? The first 30 minutes, what am I doing? In the next 2 minutes, what am I doing? Do you understand? So draw out a timetable. Basically, a timetable that you can follow. A timetable that you can follow. I like to listen to sermons, but when I'm having my personal quiet time with God, I don't like listening to sermons when I'm doing that. I can be listening to sermons when I'm washing, when I'm cooking, when I'm doing other things, when I'm working. I can be listening to sermons. But when I'm for me, I know they talk saying now waiting is supposed to be that, but for me, right? I like to do that when I'm doing other things. But when I'm having my personal quiet time with God, I don't like listening to sermons because I want to hear from God. I don't want to hear from other people at that time, right? So if you like to listen to sermons when you're having a quiet time with God, you can include it. But for me, it's not included. And yes, another thing is if you like to listen to solemn music, as a background when you're having your quiet time with God, if it keeps you, you can do that. For me, okay, you might have seen a video where I was holding my shekere. I like my shekere when I'm praying, right? Okay, guys, so that is it. There was a bonus point I was going to give. I did not write it down, but I have forgotten. But anyways, that is basically that about your discipline, procrastinating, and staying consistent in your fellowship with God. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any comments on everything I have said, please put them in the comments. I would like to hear and learn from you. We are all growing in Jesus Christ. Nobody knows it all. I don't know it all. You might know it all though. You can tell me if you know it all in the comments. Let me learn from you basically. Thank you guys so much for watching. And you all will see me by God's grace next Monday. Yes, by God's grace next Monday. On Little Drops from Jemima. Yes, I did not forget. If you remember this thing, tell me in the comments. Bye guys. Bye.